I'm a lifelong people pleaser, and I recently set a boundary with one of the most difficult people in my life on my wedding day. Do you want to hear about it? This is about my stepfather, and relevant backstory. He moved in when I was 3. The difficulty that I have with him is pretty elaborate, but I guess there's like 2 main aspects. Them is basically that he couldn't regulate his own emotions at all and was angry almost all the time, and so it felt like anything almost could set him off. So just walking on eggshells to try to keep him from exploding, because it felt like if he was in a bad mood, then it really impacted the whole household. Everybody kind of operated on his mood. The second major aspect is that, like, the moment that I had like a hint of puberty, he started being like verbally inappropriate to me. He never touched me, but he would comment about parts of my body that would be read as like smexual. I guess kind of what I'm talking about is things that would be considered sexual harassment if it was in a workplace, but this was from stepfather to 9 to, I don't know, 14, 15-year-old child. I moved out of their house when I was 15, moved in with my dad. I always knew that that was really off-putting and really creepy. I have just started to understand in therapy in the last couple of years how impactful that was to my development, because I was physically sexually abused by somebody, and so I kind of always thought that a lot of the issues that I have around like my relationship to myself and my relationship to other people and shame with my like that part of myself was the physical that I experienced from somebody else. And I've come to realize that like that's actually only a piece of it, that this piece of living with somebody who was like that caused a lot of hypervigilance and a lot of like hyper awareness of myself and of the impact of my appearance with how people treat me and things like that. So there's a lot of sexual trauma there because of this. And because he is somebody who would have such a big reaction when he was upset, and he could get upset so easily, and my coping method for lots of things in life has been to people please and to fawn and to accommodate and to just swallow my own feelings to try to avoid rocking the boat, etc. So this led to me not expressing how I felt about the way he treated me a lot of the time. And he's one of these people who literally says, "Where's my hug?" to like women mostly. And so one of his things is that he has like always wanted hugs from a lot of people. Some that he's like actually close to, but others that like me, that like I've never felt close to him, I've never liked him, but he expected hugs from me, wanted hugs from me, and I've always accommodated that. A couple years ago when I started therapy, I realized that was bonkers, that I was still doing that, and like how much hugging him was like going against my own needs, because I have this like insane feeling of like disgust at the idea of like any kind of physical touch from him. And so that is like a severe people-pleasing thing that I was doing. And I decided at some point, like maybe a few months into therapy, that I was going to not do that anymore. And what was really interesting was it seemed like literally almost as soon as I decided that, he quit trying to hug me. Like, whereas before he had tried hugging me almost every time that I saw him. But he quit asking, and he quit like gesturing like for a hug or anything like that. So it really felt like he must have picked up on like some sort of shift in me, which was really interesting. And for like 2 years, that's where we'd been at. So then 2 weeks ago is my wedding day, and I had my brother walk me down the aisle. Our dad has passed away. And so I guess I had kind of thought that because I had invited my brother into what, would have been our father's role, that this would have like sent somewhat of a message that about how I feel about my relationship with my stepdad and so on. But also, it had just been so long since he had tried to hug me that I just didn't foresee anything. But then the night that we were setting up for the wedding, so like the day before, he had been there helping set up tables and stuff. And then when he left, he asked me for a hug, and I pretty thoughtlessly, like just kind of like defaulting to my like people pleaser stuff, did it, and then felt really bad about that. Like, why did I do that? Because it's been like 2 years, but I was just so caught off guard by it. And he had asked me when I'm pretty sure it was just him and my mom and me in the room. I know that my fiance slash husband wasn't there. I mean, he was there, but he was in another room. But anyway, that was unfortunate and really threw me off. But I had so much else going on with the wedding that it kind of was like this like little blip. So then the next day we get married. The ceremony is very, very emotional. We both went really, really vulnerable with our vows on purpose. Like, that was a big goal that we had, to be like really authentic and to like really, really spill our hearts to each other during the ceremony. And we did that, and we were both like sobbing through like the whole ceremony. And so the ceremony is over. We walk back down the aisle together, and my brand new husband and I are both still crying. And so we get to this like entryway area where we had agreed to meet the officiant with our witnesses to sign the marriage license. And we're both so emotional that we just kind of stand there crying for a minute or two, hugging each other, kind of co-regulating. And after a minute, I start to feel calmer. I can tell that my new husband is feeling calmer. And so I go to like release this hug. And as soon as I do that, the first thing I see is my stepdad, who is right there waiting. Like, he wants to be the first person to interact with me after this, because he likes to insert himself into things like this. And he throws both of his arms out in this gesture of like, give me a hug. And I just said, no, thank you. And I actually said it more chipper, like more positive or nice than I just did. And he looked like I had punched him in the face. And he like spun around in place and went back into the main part of the church. And I realized maybe 20 minutes later or so that he had actually left. He left my wedding and didn't come back for the rest of the reception, I guess I should say. And that was really unfortunate, because that is not what I wanted to be dealing with, like literally minutes after getting married. And the last 2 weeks, I've overthought about all of this way too much, and it has not been fun. But it is something that I've wanted to do, like progress I've wanted to make on people pleasing and like setting a boundary. And it's like really core to valuing my own emotional needs. And also seeing him have that big reaction to me not accepting a hug from him really helped explain to me why I've always found it so hard to do that, because he seems to expect me to want to hug him and to want to be physically affectionate towards him in that way through a hug, despite the creepy way that he treated me my whole childhood.